Good evening. Come on in the room. Okay, hopefully. Yes. All right. So we are going to, good evening, everyone. It is 7:30. 7:30, 7:31, whichever clock you're looking on. But I'm making sure I'm being on time. So thank you guys for coming into our live room today. Hey, we are, I talk in third person so much. So I'm super excited for you guys to kick off our live tonight. Our Mental Health Monday series continues tonight. Hey, Joe. And so I'm super excited for y'all to hear the conversation that we have planned for you guys. I know the conversation and the topics are definitely needed and necessary. So we're going to jump right into it. Hey. And y'all, I have to put my gum to the side because I'm smacking.
There we go.
We live.
Yeah, what's going on?
Nothing much. So I'm so excited. So I'm going to make sure. I'm glad you corrected me, okay? Lots of people, so I'm going to get it right. Okay. So welcome to our segment of Mental Health Mondays. Each month we focus on a mental health topic here at Eudaimonia Wellness and Beauty, where we figure out things to discuss that we know plagues our community. So it started out as just like let's just see it, let's just do it and see how it goes. And then it turned into no, these are actually conversations that we actually need to have. So for those of you who do not know me, I am Janeisha. I am the founder and owner of Eudaimonia Wellness and Beauty. We are a wellness spa located in Dallas, Texas. We focus on wellness from a holistic and preventative healthcare approach. Services that we offer: IV hydration, vitamin injections, weight management, and VC. And one of our big pillars that we focus on is mental health. So I am going to introduce you guys to Davon.
Yeah.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
Keep you all the way together.
Yeah, so, excuse me. To start, my name is Davon Breedlove. I'm from Nashville, Tennessee. I currently live in Dallas, Texas. I am known as a mental health advocate. Also, I am an emotional intelligence life coach. So I have about 7 years of working experience in this industry. Mental health is a field that I've been passionate about for a while. So I've always had a connection to it and started to do the work. So I noticed a connection between a lot of the people that I tend to support or actually have a close relationship with, such as family or friends, and they have a tendency to reject the idea of mental health, therapy services. So just in noticing that trend, I thought of ways to close the gap. And in doing so, it was through education and application. So I decided to become a life coach so I can learn life skills and learn how to teach them to my people, teach it to my community, teach it to those who need it, because I know the mental health field has a veil around it. And it really, it's just difficult to kind of fight through that. And I think with the life coaching space, as well as that mental health piece as a psychologist, which is the short-term goal. So for me, my short-term goal is to become a psychologist and educate the next generation of leaders. So I want to teach the next generation of leaders about how stress works and how those external influences affect your life. So the biggest point of teaching that is to let folks know it's not always you, and sometimes it's what you've been exposed to. Yeah, yeah. So that's the short term goal. So on the long term, man, I just want to be the person I needed when I was younger. I'm no stranger to stress. I'm no stranger to trauma, neglect. So through that myself, just looking through that lens, I've always thought to be who I needed, and that's just leading me to where I am today.
That's amazing. That's awesome. So we are going to touch on a few topics tonight. So throughout the conversation, if you guys have questions, definitely chime in the chat. If
Mm-hmm.
y'all have, something that comes across y'all's brain and y'all like, ooh, what about this? My background, I am a registered nurse. I have been in the ER for 6.5 years. So I approach the mental health spectrum and the mental health arena from a healthcare perspective and my experience in that. So that's the expertise that I bring to the conversation, and kind of looking at it from that perspective. So if y'all have questions, if you have some, anything you want to throw in there, chime in, just definitely drop it in the chat. We want it to be an interactive conversation. We want you guys to get out of it as much as we want you to get out of whatever we want to talk about. Because as Devon said, like, it is in our community, in the African American community, mental health is such a huge stigma.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to do our part to shy away from that. And I'm so thankful that the last year or two has really shed a light into what mental health really is, because it looks different for everybody. So tonight we're going to cover topics over stress, anxiety, some preventative care that you guys can, and some resources, and how you can deal with stress and anxiety, because it really shows up differently. How our ego has things to do with it. But we want to keep it fun and engaging, so it's not like, we don't want no dry, boring conversation.
You feel me?
I will give
You
today.
feel me? Yeah.
So, Devon, just give me a little background about how you got into the space of becoming a mental health advocate. Like, where and how did that show up for you?
So I would say a lot like my peers within my industry, when starting off, like just declaring my major at college, my freshman year, I'm like, oh, I want to be a psych major. Everything was personal. It was about trying to fix myself. You got family and friends who drink their pains away, getting high. Like, they ain't hitting just blunts. They doing some other stuff. And you know it, you see it your whole life. And you see folks, dealing with pressure through physical means and just unhealthy habits. So of course I had this in my mind and in my space that I'm gonna fix myself. I'm not telling everybody what I'm doing. I'm going to school for psychology, right? But then you start having classmates and they're like, I'm here because I was molested as a kid, or I'm here because I'm this. And I'm like, sheesh, I guess we all, coming from a similar background. So I think it's really just my life experiences brought me to this space, because I felt like somebody had to do something different. My pop's hood, you feel me? But he loved his boys, he loved his kids. So I was always taught love and leading with love. So it was always, I guess my intention was always pure with what I was doing. But I then started to learn that you can't just be a therapist for yourself. Like, that's not how it works. So
But a lot of we try though. A lot of people do try though.
we try. And I am, although it's kind of maybe taboo to say being a mental health professional, I do think we should be healing ourselves, though.
We do.
I do.
And a lot of that comes from, you got to recognize that there is an issue.
Yeah. So that's awareness first.
You got to have that first. And self-awareness is sometimes the hardest thing for people to get to, because it's holding that mirror up to look at yourself like, girl, yeah, like, you got to fix you, because you're the issue. And you can't to try to, you can only be so much to somebody else if you yourself are not in that. And that sometimes is a very, very hard conversation to have because we don't ever want to see our flaws in ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I'm perfect. I don't do anything wrong. I'm definitely not the problem. It's definitely not me. It's definitely me.
I'm perfect, right?
You can tell me I'm not perfect.
I've
But
definitely heard that before.
it's a hard realization. But
Mm-hmm.
as soon as you flip the mirror to look at yourself and you realize, like, oh, okay, this is where I'm falling short.
Yeah.
Let me figure out how I can resolve that. And like you said, it's always like, let me try to fix me. But it takes time for people to get there to fix that. So,
Yeah, because you look for the wrong signs sometimes. I think the problem is we don't know how to identify warning signs.
okay.
So, for example, if I'm under stress, I've learned what my stress responses are. I
Now,
learned that I carry. How did I do that?
learn what your stress responses are.
Education. It starts with education first. So accepting the information, it's like being open to opportunity. So a lot of times we think that isn't for me, so I'm not going to listen to it. And that's the wrong approach with everything in life because the greatest minds are very diverse. So you have to come with an open mind with anything you do, especially when it comes to healing. Nobody's telling you to jump off a cliff and face your fears, but there are things that you have to manage before life starts to manage you.
So let's go into let's talk about what is stress and what is anxiety. I feel
Okay.
like sometimes they are very similar. And I
Yeah.
feel like they have a very fine line that they kind of cross, but they are they're great. What are your top three identifiers to self-awareness? Ooh, that's a great question. We're gonna come back. I'm gonna write that down because I'm gonna come back to that
Yes,
because
sir.
that's my topic of this.
Yes, sir.
So let's first define what stress is.
Okay. So I can explain stress in so many ways. I can even nerd out about it. So I'm gonna try to keep it generalized. But for the most part, stress is a response from your body, so it's biological. And as a nurse, I can say for you, um, stress is can be seen as trauma to the body. So like an injection site, your body reacts when you give a person a shot in their arm or even an IV treatment. You, as a part of that process, the body doesn't know anything that's not inside of it. So anything that's external that enters the body responds.
That's a stress. Yep. And that
So
could be anything, like you said.
and you can name so many, and that response is a symptom. So for you, you've seen probably inflammation, you've seen
Yep.
hives, you've seen bruises. That's a sign from the body to say there's stress, there's trauma. It's time to respond and show the signs so you can change something.
Mm-hmm.
Your body's always trying to communicate with you, but it starts with your mind.
Mm-hmm.
So my way of explaining stress is it's a biological response. Stress is a perceived threat. Now, anxiety, for example, anxiety is your response to stress. So when it comes down to something like anxiety, we have all type of symptoms. We're panicking, our heart rate's increasing, blood pressure is increasing. Those things are responses of anxiety. And then stress's connection to anxiety is it's the response.
Yep.
So once you lose control or your ability to cope with stress, that's when it starts to turn into anxiety.
Yep. And we won't go down the whole rabbit hole of the types of anxiety and panic
Exactly.
disorder. We're not going to go into all of that tonight.
Exactly.
It's a very nerdy conversation. But we're going to keep it fun because there are different types of anxiety that people deal with.
Yep.
So it looks different for everybody.
It does. It
Things
does.
need to be diagnosed by a professional. That
Hmm.
is very true. Sometimes you may reach a point where you're not able to deal with those things on your own and you may need medication. It's not that it's a bad thing that you need that. It's
Yeah.
just, you just have to, that is one way that you have to deal so that you can cope and so that you can be functional.
Yeah. And see, there are ways to prevent it before it gets there. It's kind of like it's all preventative, as if just what you see generally in your space. It's like you wait all this time to come in here for this pain that you got. Now it's a big swollen knot, you know.
Yes, because baby, I say it every day.
You know, you gotta, when you have inflammation, you put ice on it to reduce the swelling. Like, there are ways to prevent things from happening, but we don't know how to identify the signs to work on those symptoms. And then once time lapses is when you start to go into a different space. I've worked in the inpatient setting for 3 years, so it's kind of like the ICU of mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe the ER. I would say the ER of mental health. So it's high pace. It's people coming in handcuffed, people schizophrenic, dealing with schizophrenia, really bad. So the symptoms are people are just responding internally. Substance abuse is you don't know what you're going to see. They just come in. So in a high risk space, I sit with people. I literally sat on the ground and just had conversations with people who explained their stories to me and taught me about how they got to where they got to. Well, the place that they started at and how they got there. And it literally always starts with stress.
So, yes. So, let's touch on when we're dealing with stress.
Mm-hmm.
How does someone recognize that this is a stressful situation? I'm stressed out. I'm here. How do I know I'm here, and how do I deal with that?
Okay. It depends on the individual, sure. So if you're reactive, or maybe you should just think about what you don't like about yourself. I think things that I do is like, if I've been in a relationship, say I had a bad relationship and you start to look back on your life and you're like, you know what, I could have did this better. I could have did that better. Instead of repeating cycles, you learn to prevent them. So if it's something you don't like about yourself, that's probably where you should start in identifying stressors, because that situation is bringing a reaction out of you, because your response is your reaction to stress. If you stress me the hell out, I'm going to respond. Whether I'm cussing you out, whether I'm ignoring you, you feel me, whatever the case may be, it's all a response and I'm triggered. So noticing your triggers and picking up on them is the way to identify them.
Yes. So we touched on that, kind of touches on like our self-awareness. You got to know where you are so that
Yeah.
you realize. So one of our listeners asked, what are your top 3 identifiers to self-awareness?
I would start with trying to be present. When you're under stress, you time travel a lot. That's something I'm recently being able to put into words. When we live in the past, it depresses us. And when we live too far in the future, it can bring anxiety. So learning how to settle when present allows me to identify those stressors. My personal stresses are a lack of organization. When I don't organize my life, I'm stressed out. When I am inconsistent with certain habits, it stresses me out. And when I can't support people, that stresses me out, right? So those are my personal stresses. But if you compare it to somebody else that say they can't put food on the table, that's a stress. You feel me? So being able, financial means, health. Your health can stress you out. So it's really thinking about what's important to you and defining them. So if I were to just throw out some pillars of importance, things that like just an everyday person should focus on, your business, whether you have a business or your personal job, just whatever, personal, professional, whatever stresses you out in that business pillar, figure it out. Whatever stresses you out in your income pillar, figure it out. The same goes for community, which is family, friends, whomever, as well as income, business, community, and health. And health. I mean, once you figure those things out, you can pretty much wrap your world around the important things, and that's what you focus on. Because once we lack focus in those areas, it's hard to maintain control or support the things that really matter. Because if my health isn't in check, how am I gonna take care of somebody else? You feel me?
Not pour from an empty cup.
You can't. And we try that. We got this plague on our community where we think we can do it all for everybody but ourselves. Especially the women. No shots to y'all, but y'all are nurturers, and y'all pulling these, y'all pulling all this energy and all these responsibilities, and then you don't even know how to manage it, but you're still trying to. But then you start to pull from yourself, so you're pulling from your essence. So if I were to add on to that, the last point I would say is learn how to identify the important things in your space and just start small. Just start small. For me, I go mind, body, soul. That's what I do. Some for my mind, some for my body, some for my soul. Every day I wake up, those are the things I focus on. And I created, and I took time out my day. I didn't just do it overnight. I didn't just wake up and say, mind, body, and soul, let's do it. No, I didn't do that. You say, what happened?
Get to that point to realize that's what you need to do.
Well, I gave myself a week to figure it out. I took out a sheet of paper. I had it at the end of my table in my living room, and I put mind, body, soul, wrote 3 categories out. And whenever an idea came to me throughout that week, I wrote it down for each category. So what worked for me? I live on a lake. So I got this crib for my peace. You feel me? So when I walk and clear my head, that's cool. So I wrote that for my mind. Like, what ways, if you really stressed out and you can't think, what's your resource? So I mapped out resources for myself. So I gave myself a week to figure it out. I got a list for mind, body, and soul for random things I can do. So now it's just routine. So when I wake up, 15 minutes go to my mind, 15 minutes go to my body, 15 minutes go to my soul. And if I got more time, I extend it. But I at least invest in me before I answer the phone, before I look at text messages, I'm not even looking at my phone. My phone actually sits in the bathroom at night, so I'm not hearing it go off because I gotta protect my peace first. And eventually, once I create a better habit of doing that in this routine, then I can go back to having the phone by my nightstand for emergencies, and doing this and doing that. But I had to just cut everything out and focus on me first.
Oh, I love that. I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna tell y'all. When I first started talking to Devon about this talk, I don't know if you want me to share it, but I'm going to share a little bit.
You good.
I told somebody else about it. This man is like, when I say organization, it's like, it's like if my space is not organized, it throws me out of whack. Like, he mean that. He listened to me, and I had the same conversation. I was like, so how do you figure out what things you need to deal with? And he was like, I create a list. You said it was the 2-week thing that you were doing.
Yeah. 2-week sprints.
You better go into that, because I think that's a great tool for people who are business owners, for people who are mothers, who are like people who are, just have so much going on, to really realize how you can kind of time block and move these things in other areas, so that you're not so overwhelmed and they stress you out all at one time.
Yeah, so how I got into that was starting small. It was hard to wake up at 5 in the morning and just say, I'm finna read the Bible today, or I'm about to meditate in cross-legged pose and watch this person on YouTube and my eyes are
like such a chore.
You said it's a chore?
Yes,
It is, because your body rejects that immediately. All you want to do is go to sleep. And there were times where I would just go to sleep, but through the process, give yourself grace. So the first thing I say, start small, give yourself grace. Once you can start to invest in yourself, then you start to transition into outlining your weeks, outlining the months ahead, outlining your year. So for me, I got a 5-year plan, and I break it down, over the years, and then I start to hit quarters. So I have a 6-month category. So anything that's 6 months or more, I write it down, boom, and I put it in like a certain app that I use. It's called I don't want to say it wrong. Convener. I'll send it to you so you can share it with your folks. But it's literally a note taking app, and I just, instead of me looking for some paper and I got papers all over the place, I create the categories and I say, boom, let me hit that one. That was a good idea, and I go back about my day. And once you get it out your mind, you release a lot of mental space because your mind isn't meant to think all day. That's cognitive overload, and it's actually counterproductive. So I ain't gonna dig into that. But what I will dig into is starting small to branch out those things. So for my 6 months, anything that is not happening within 2 weeks, two weeks to a month, goes in the 6 month category. It's off my mind. Whether it's a doctor's visit, an optometrist visit, it's a family trip, it's literally not today. So anything that's coming up within the next 2 weeks, I outline it on the calendar, call it a 2 week sprint. And whatever doesn't make the calendar is not important. And if it's not important, it goes to the notes for 6 months and after.
I told somebody about that. Actually, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do that. So I'm in a Cornell class. They were doing this class on women in entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And so one of the courses and the lessons was naming and taming your stressors.
Okay.
Same concept. It was, we have so much on our brain, we're in overload and we can't function. So write everything that is stressing you out on a piece of paper.
Yep.
Go through this and say, does this thing, if I do not do this, is this going to be a life or death thing for me? Or is this somebody that I can delegate to somebody else and let them do it? Or does it have to be done like right now? Go through the list, every single thing. If that's not something that you yourself have to deal with or somebody else has to deal with it, take it off your list. Kind of minimize the list from this huge overloading, oh my God thing to now, okay, these are some things I can focus on. But then you break it down even more from there. So now what's left on your list, you go and say, okay, this thing that is stressing me, is it supposed to teach me a lesson? Is there something that I'm supposed to gain out of this?
Yeah.
Approach it from that approach instead of, these are all the things I got to do. I had to realize I would always constantly write down lists. I got a list of stuff I got to do. I would never complete everything on the list.
Oh, my apologies.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna ask, is that class teaching you to break them down like in categories, your list?
No, but I'm gonna break them down now from what you said. I have a board breaking down on my own, just on learning and reading different books on like how to handle, because running a business, like Donna said, like running a business is a major stressor, like it's huge. So it was always like I would write this whole big old list, like I got to do this, and it would be like a 2-page list. And I would just be like, it was terrible. Okay, it was terrible.
Yeah.
It was a 2-page list, and I would be like, Janeisha, why is it that you can never get this stuff done? Because you look at this list and it's intimidating.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's so overwhelming that every time I look at it, I'm just like, I'm just not going to do it. So then I was just like, okay, you got to break this stuff down. Break it down into smaller segments. So now only give yourself maybe 5 or 6 things to do a day. That worked at least for a little while. But you, like you said, you have to figure out what's going to work for you. And that's not always going to be the same thing. What worked for me today may not have worked for me a month ago.
You got different seasons. So in this season right now, I'm stopwatch Shotty. So anytime, even before this live, I'm like, I got 30 minutes to do nothing. So I hit that watch and I'm over here just reading, I'm prepping, thinking about things that I can talk about just off the top of my mind, because you can easily pick up Instagram and just scroll for 30 minutes, lose that time. You feel me? So I'm so quick to responding to people, but then I learned, now that I journal, now that I'm more mindful, meditation helps with that, but now that I'm more mindful, I sit and I process things, and I'm like, you know what? Your main goal is to serve your folks. Serve the people you care about, serve your community. Instagram ain't doing that for you right now. There's a time for Instagram, and if you want to be on there, allocate it to your day. Don't just mindlessly go on Instagram. Don't just mindlessly get into social media, and then you talk this friend on Snapchat, this friend on Facebook, this one on Instagram, and then you're looking at all the little videos. You done spent 2 hours of your day that you could have been investing in yourself. So then you're complaining about your personal development.
I don't have time.
You don't got time. You could have took a nap. You could have refreshed your mind. You could have checked on a sibling. You could have did this. You could have did that. Think about those pillars. When you don't know what to do, that's what these resources are for. So I make documents for myself. And I'm like, when I have free time every Sunday, I'm like being productive. Boom. So then when I'm stressed out in the middle of the week and I can't think, I just pull up on my laptop and be like, okay, this category is for stress, or this is my business category, or this is this one. I don't even got to think no more. I got my resource. I recharge my mind. I'm more driven. It's so many tools out here, but we got to learn our tools and learn our resources. That's all it is. Because we can't expect perfection if we ain't even striving for perfection. We got to do better to be better.
So I love what you said about you got to be present.
Yeah.
We're always looking towards what's to come. We're always the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. That was something that I had to slow myself down as well, because I was getting into this, I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. And so it became where I was super, like, I was overwhelmed, because I was just like, where I'm striving to go, I'm not there. And it looks like from this moment that I'm never going to get there. So I started overthinking, internalizing stuff. You're not good enough. Then you have all these negative things that start to set in and start to make you like second guess yourself and doubt yourself. So then I literally had to say, Janeisha, you have to be present in this moment. Because where you are right now, you were hoping to be here 2 or 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Hoping to be here a year ago.
Yeah.
When I started to allow myself, and like you said, that came with a lot of conversations with people. That came from mindset exercise I'm having to do, mindset coaching calls I'm having. Like, it came from me having to do the work to realize, like, I'm just always all over the place. And a big thing was, you are so focused on where you're wanting to go, you don't even enjoy and realize like where you are right now. Because at some point you prayed for this moment to be here. At some point you thought about the time where, oh, well, if I'm able to do this, and you're here.
That's evident.
So it's a huge thing, because like you said, you feel like you're always stressed. As a business owner, as someone just a family man, like you feel like there's no way out. You close yourself in this box. So what are some strategies that you feel like, I know you said like some resources for us to feel like, okay, I'm in this box, I'm in this space. How can I get out of here? Because right now, I feel like I ain't got no other way out.
Is it a space of repeated cycles? Is it like, what's the space that we're talking about?
So I'm gonna say just the repeated cycles, always being stressed.
Okay. So
every day I wake up, I'm stressed. I go to bed at night, I'm stressed. I wake up again the next morning. So now I'm just going through life, and it's just happening on happening.
I got 2 things. One, working segments. So for my work day, like I have a main job, I got a business, coaching business, and like you run a business, you can't work on your business 24 hours a day. You want to. There's always more that you can do, but you got to know when to cut things off and start again tomorrow. So before your day even start, be like, all right, I'm gonna hit this watch. I got 30 minutes to work with no interruptions. I ain't picking my phone up. It's actually gonna be in the other room. 30 minutes, you feel me? And for 30 minutes straight, once that 30-minute timer in, stop. Take a moment to have a healthy reset. That's what I call it. I call these moments in between, these transition periods, I call them healthy resets, because I can work all day, but that's not teaching me how to work effectively. That's teaching me how to be a machine, and I'm not one. So when we were in grade school, and you're like doing this work all day, to complete the task, but it's not teaching you to use your imagination. The only way that you have the energy and the resources to tap into that space is if you allow your mind to reset. So through the day, I don't do nothing all day, and unless it's bringing me joy and comfort. So some days I'm working, I'm enjoying it because I'm like, oh yeah, I get to create this class and this ebook for this person and this that. So I like that. That doesn't stress me out. But if it's my main job and there are elements that stress me out, then it's like, okay, I can only deal with so much at a time. I'm realistic. And I'm like, I'll give 45 minutes to everything, 45 minutes to emails, 45 minutes to this, 45 minutes to that. That's it. I'm not doing nothing outside of those 45 minutes. And then for 15 minutes, I take a healthy reset, whether that's drinking tea, whether that's resting, whether that's whatever's on my list for my mind, body, and soul. That's my 15-minute reset. So I either break them down in 45, 15s, or I break them in 20 and 5. It just depends on what the task is, but know it's something that's manageable for you, and don't overdo yourself, because these jobs ain't worth your health. Like, you could pass away tomorrow and they're gonna replace your role. You feel me? So I don't exhaust my energy for much of anything. Toxic folks, toxic environments, anything. And honestly, you don't even breathe on me if you're toxic. So that's just personal. So that question.
So that's a good thing. So Donna says that she gets stressed if I don't work on my business for a day. I feel like a lot of people have fallen into this. If I'm not busy, or if I'm not doing the work all the time, I'm not going to get to the outcome. Okay. If I don't work on this all the time, I feel, I be having to be impeccable with my words and how I say things.
Yeah.
Like society has made it that we always have to be busy to be successful.
Yeah, of course. So that's a social standard though. So it's like, do you subscribe to that? That's personal. Anything that's personal is on you. So I don't let people influence me. Like I can put on some clothes right now and walk out the door and be confident about what I'm wearing. If somebody point at me and act like they don't like what I got going on, cool. You feel me? What they got to do with me? And that's the same way that we feel about ourselves. Like what she said, feels like whatever she feels, and it's associated with the standard. Forget the social standard. You create that. That's your life. You gonna die one day. You feel me? Like, why would you run your life or operate your life around standards that you didn't create? So that goes back to what I'm saying in the beginning. Think about what you want. So when I make decisions for my life, it's always on a Sunday. Unless I got stuff to do on Sunday, then I plan the day before. But every Sunday, I outline what's important to me: my business, income, health, family, or community space. And those 4 pillars always matter. So whenever I reprioritize my week, those things always make it in my 2 weeks. Business is gonna make it, but what part of my business? Because the thing is, you gotta realize, you on a mission. You can't get it all done in a day. You can't get it all done in a year. And your feelings ain't facts. Like you feeling a way about anything is personal. Your feelings ain't fact. So I remind myself that all the time whenever I'm being hard on myself, that love is personal, bro. Like, journal it out, get it off your mind, see how you feel. And once I do that, I'm like, you slick upset because you thinking about how you're gonna be viewed versus just doing the work. And if you really committed to doing the work, you're gonna do the work. Either you committed or you not. You feel me? It's no between, because it's gonna expose you. So you either do it or you don't. So it's always about what do you ultimately want and making a decision. Because once you start to let other people make decisions for you, it starts to redirect your journey. Like, I feel like we are all on this journey of life, and we figure it out every day. My personal journey is to live on a mind, body, and soul directive. Yours might be completely different than mine, but you're gonna get to your destination and I'm gonna get to mine. You feel me? I don't subscribe to the idea that I should allow somebody to influence my life. Somebody that's not operating out of a place of love. It's a difference if it's my nana who jumped on this car. That's my girl. It's a difference if it's my nana. I'm gonna take her advice because I know she's coming from a place of love, but I also make the final decision.
Right. I listen to you. Choice. Yeah.
Yeah. Ain't you go in the coffin alone? You feel me? So at the end of the day, you gotta make the ultimate decision. And if you're ever feeling down on yourself, try to change that thought because that is what rewires your brain chemistry. When we talk down on ourselves, our body doesn't know the difference. All our body knows is to respond, which is going to bring certain chemicals out of us that we don't need. And instead of telling ourselves negative thoughts, practice positive self-talk. And then rewire your frame of thinking because the way I think now is completely different than the way I was a few years ago. And that's worth everything I've lost and gained in this space.
They loving your feelings are not facts. I have
That's my nana right there.
Yes, she loves us, Baba.
Yeah, that's my girl.
It's a conversation I've had to have. Well, a lot of this that we're having is a lot of mindset transformation, and that's a whole other discussion and conversation to have. Because you really do have to shift your brain. Because, like you said, you either my feelings are not based on facts. I would say, is this a fact, or is this a feeling, and is this a real belief? And is how I feel, or is just how I'm feeling in this moment?
It's how I feel in the moment. Exactly.
It's going to bring you to that part where you are feeling that in that moment. So, I'm a very emotional person. So I have to say to myself, and my coach has said, Janeisha, have the moment. You're entitled to that. If you're feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling stressed out, you want to cry, you want to scream, have that moment.
At that moment.
But you can't stay in that moment.
Mm-hmm. That's your mental diet. It's your mental diet. Like, I come from a toxic background. Like, the folks I know, they've always treated me the way that I'm treated by them now. I got friends that I've had since first grade. Like, I literally have connections with my people because I'm as authentic as I need to be with you. And the love is going to be, equally yoked, but I'm not going to allow you to do something that I won't do to myself. And once you start to treat yourself right, you teach people how to treat you. So it starts with you.
It do, because people are only going to do to you what you allow.
Definitely.
And I say it all the time. If you don't allow the BS, if you don't allow somebody to come to you that way, if your energy is off, if your aura is off, if your attitude is off, I'm sorry, it's just because you don't know what I'm going through today.
You
so
feel me?
And I'm gonna go left, and then you're gonna be mad. So now I'm waiting for you, but you came to me in that space.
Yeah.
So you gotta understand. Everybody has their own storm. Everybody has their own life journey. Everybody goes through something else every day that you know nothing about.
Yeah.
So you can't always, and it's okay. And I feel like a lot of times we, as a woman, we tend to be like, okay, well, no. It's okay to tell them today, I'm just not in that space to hear that.
Yeah.
I'm just in that mood to have that conversation. And I've had to have conversations with people like sometimes, and I've had to do this with my friends. I just want to just vent. I just want to talk. I want to vent. I just want to go off. But I've had to understand that sometimes my friends are having their own storms, and they're not able to take on what it is I'm trying to bring, even though I ain't got nothing to do with them.
Yeah.
I'm not talking to them about an issue that we have. But sometimes I've had to say, are you in a headspace for me to have a conversation with you or vent right now? Because you want to be respectful of where somebody else is going through.
And if it's not life or death, that's acceptable. That's 100% acceptable.
It is. But when to say, hey, I can engage, and when I need to take a step back.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people are literally, one conversation will send them over the edge.
I've seen it. That's working in the field introduced me to things that I would never forget. Like I had this one guy talking to himself, and it sounded like he was drowning in his throat. He was making sounds like he just was drowning in crazy stuff. And it's just like I'm so blessed to have the mind that I have, the abilities that I have. I can walk on my own. I can run if I want to. Like God bless me, and I need to bask in those blessings and just be thankful for today. You know, I might not have all the money I want. I might not have, you know, the most perfect situation that I can think of, but today I'm blessed. I'm fortunate. I'm happy. I'm peaceful. Like get yourself with some affirmations. Do what you need to do to pour into your soul because you gotta fill yourself up. And and I'm sorry.
Daily. Gotta fill yourself up daily.
Daily. I don't even, like I said, I don't even operate with the outside world until I do that. And that's every morning. I wake up and play a YouTube video for yoga. I'm not even a yogi, but I play it. I don't learn some crazy stuff, like I rap on cars like this, and it's kind of funny sometimes because it's like I'm learning a new side of myself because I enjoy it and I get frustrated with myself, but then I remember give myself grace. When I'm journaling and I don't feel like writing, I'm like, give yourself grace. Like you gotta always be easy on yourself because you're learning, you're human. And I did have a question to ask before I even. The question was before this. I just got in the moment, so that's my fault on that. But I had to ask you a question that I probably should pose to the folks that's listening. Um, do you have non-negotiables, like things that you just won't do or won't accept in your life? You don't have to list them, but do you have them?
Yes, and I feel like a lot of that has become more of a yes now than it was probably 6 months ago.
So you're more firm on them, is what you're saying.
I
Yeah.
had things like, I'm not gonna, and it was category wise. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not gonna accept these things in my relationship. I'm not gonna accept these things from people. I'm not gonna accept these things from my job. Like, there were things because those were boundaries for myself. But I would find that I would bend on them sometimes. Like, well, if they are okay with this time, then I'm my sleep is people know I'm a sleeper. Okay,
Yeah.
I love my sleep, and so I would find myself taking meetings the first thing in the morning, and I'm not a morning person. Like that's not my thing. But it was, well, if they're saying that this is what time is going to work for them, then I'm just going to have to see. It would really disrupt my whole day.
Yeah. Yeah.
One, I'm a night owl, so I'm going to be up all night. And then I'm trying to function to be able to have a conversation in the morning, and I'm going to be mad until the rest of the day. And
Yeah,
it
you
was,
can't have that on you.
I would do it just because, like, well, it just worked. If that's what they said. But now I'm like, no, I can't. It's got to be a life or death, something that you need things before 10 a.m.
Yeah. That I think those non-negotiables are important. If a person wants to outline some boundaries and some organization into their space, maybe if you're gonna start anywhere, maybe start with the things that you won't do. Because even when I'm applying to grad school this year, and before I even get to an interview, which is in the spring, I'm already thinking today, what are my non-negotiables? What am I not going to do for a university? What am I not going to do for whatever? Like I have non-negotiables, and once that's articulated to myself, then I articulate it to the source.
Yep. So I want y'all in the chat to drop one non-negotiable that you know for sure that you're not bending on. Like I'm
Yeah.
not.
I'm gonna start that one because I got one right now.
What's your non-negotiable? I mean, I have a few, but that was a big thing I had to learn because I was just bad. That's
Anything
just
that
not
objects
my
on my phone, I didn't know you saw.
one that objects my essence. So you have to elaborate on that.
Yeah. So, like I said, I live my life on a mind, body, and soul directive. So, I'm serious about my mind. I'm serious about my body. I'm serious about my spirit. So, you know, soul ties is a real thing. So you out here just doing your thing, and that's cool. You feel me? If you want to risk that, you know, it's personal. But what's personal to me is aligning my life with the kid I want to have, with the family I want to have one day. So I'm forward thinking more now than ever. So the way that my mind is set up, non-negotiables are anything that objects my essence. So that's the whole mind, body, and soul spectrum. That can be from me walking this lake and I didn't say I'm not gonna answer the phone and I'm gonna give myself 20 minutes to clear my head because something just happened or something stressed me out or I just need it. It's a non-negotiable right now. My phone ain't gonna be on me. So that's how I know it's gonna be non-negotiable. Um, them late night texts, you texting the wrong person, so it'd be non-negotiable right now. You feel me? So unless we got an understanding, but that's it's an agreement with yourself. That's how I consider my non-negotiables to be. Just it's a contract. You really gotta value yourself like you value Apple. You feel me? We got Apple products out the boatload, and they got a brand in the business that they're not bending and shaping for nobody. We got to value ourselves with um, that same type of love and support. Like I love me, you feel me, and I can say that. I can say that and mean it, and it shows because when I think about the people that we come from, I'm like, we actually supposed to be more great than we carry ourselves to be. If you really think about it, like we pride ourselves on Egyptian culture and this philosophy and that, and it's like, well, you don't act like them, you don't act nothing like them. So I ain't even trying to go down no rabbit holes, but just anything that objects my essence.
I like that. I think so. I said I watch a lot of random stuff. And one of them was like to set like the vision board that you have for your life so that you can know like, you know, how do you want things to look? And one thing that is I had to put on there was just like you just said, you have to stop breaking the agreements that you have with yourself. If you've said that you're going to do something, you need to do it. You do that with other people. If you tell somebody that you're going to do something, you're going to be there. Why don't you have that same mindset when it comes to yourself? And that came from just my health in general. Like, I want to be healthier. I want to lose weight, stuff like that. But I would bend on, okay, well, I'm probably not going to be as active. Oh, okay, well, I could miss this day. Why are you breaking the agreement that you made with yourself? You can't do that. And I literally just wrote that like last week. Was it last week, the week before? That is literally what I wrote up there. Stop breaking the contract that you have with yourself. If you say that you're going to do it.
I was gonna ask, did you analyze that? Like the broken habit, did you analyze what happened?
I did.
Good.
I did. So my issue was I thought it was a consistent problem. I'm not consistent with my workout, so it must be that I just need to make more time. So then it came down to, okay, well, I'm not disciplined enough. So maybe you need to figure out how you can be more disciplined to get to these things.
Yeah.
You need to put things in place. I was on YouTube. How to be more disciplined.
Yeah, me too.
But like, look at stuff because it's really a shift that I really have to do. Like, yes, it's a discipline thing. So for me, I have to time block my days now. I can't just give myself a list of stuff to do all day because I'm not going to do it. Mm-hmm. I need to say between this time and this time, you're going to do this. You're going to do this at this time. Like, I have to do that. I even have to take it a step further. Like, you're going to eat this at home. You're going to eat this. One of the books that we just read in our Black Business group was Atomic Habits by James Clear. Yeah. And so it really made me have to be like, well, dang, you do have terrible habits. Like, they're bad. So what does this look like? And then I even took it a step further. Like, okay, even if it's not a discipline issue, what does this come down to? Why is it that you're so easy to break this contract with yourself that you're going to do this? And it came down to, Janeisha, you are late. You are your problem with yourself. Yeah. You just stop being late. You don't feel like doing it. Okay, so you put it off for another day. It took me down a little hole. It did. It wasn't a very comfortable conversation that I had to
Yeah.
have. But you realize that you're the problem and you're the issue with why things are like that. Then it starts to be like, no, I can't miss it. Now I have to do this. Now I have no choice but to get this done.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be known. I don't want to be known as a lazy person. And I'm not. But with my health, that's how it was showing up.
Yeah.
So these are, I love these non-negotiables. So it says, I had to scroll up. My schedule is my schedule. I won't change it unless it's an emergency because that's your time.
Amen.
Anything that conflicts with internal peace, trusting my gut and instincts more closely, and my sleep.
Uh-huh.
Not continuing to put others before myself. That's big.
That's my auntie.
That's a big one because we do that a lot.
Yeah.
It's easy to say, oh, yeah, I'll do that for you. But then you ain't did nothing for yourself.
And even if you don't physically do that, you sometimes mentally do it, and you pop yourself in a situation that nobody asked you to be in, but they're gonna accept the help because you done threw yourself in space. So that was me back home in Nashville. I was always like, I think this person probably might be stressed out because they just went through that. So let me go check on them. Just a random pop up and stuff, and that I was pouring into people and not pouring into myself. So once I took a step away from just distractions, learning how to, because I distract myself. It's not nobody else. I'm a talker, for one. I be talking my ass off. Sorry, Nana. I be talking. But then I also like to solve problems because I care. So knowing your own habits. And I like how you analyze yourself and realizing that you just said, I'm lazy because I have lazy habits too and unfocused moments. And I just taught myself how to focus better.
See, so I feel like some people think, and I'm not saying this is how you think, I'm not saying this is how I think, but I hear the conversation.
Yeah.
I'm not mentally to that place where I can get myself to those points. I'm not mentally strong enough to be able to say, I need to do this. I'm not mentally at a place that like it's always I mentally ain't got it there.
Nah, you starting off wrong by saying what you're not, because your body is already processing that. Them cells in your body is like saying we can't do this, we can't do that. You gotta already tell yourself what you can do. You just gotta find your solution. What's your resource? What is your tool? My resource is YouTube. If I want to learn a new workout, I got a stretch that I'm trying to stretch this one part of my back. How do you stretch your upper back? Like I literally try to get as specific as I can, and YouTube will pull me through that space. So what's your resource and what's your tool? So don't tell yourself what you can't do. Tell yourself, analyze, see, like you did earlier, analyze the problem. Just kind of write it out and say, this is the issue. What are the habits that keep leading me to messing it up? And when it comes down to the mind, it is hard to control the mind. It's hard to stay present, but what I do is practice the things that I preach. So I've learned how to be more mindful. I've learned how to control racing thoughts, stopping myself to just suppressing these thoughts and dealing with them in a healthy way. And I manage them. And I don't sit with them in the back of my mind all day. So when I'm at work, I'm like, let me distract myself with this conversation because I can't get this off my mind. It's like I'm so locked in. I'm more locked in now than ever. So I'm a firm believer in positive self-talk and doing the work.
Yeah. So you said YouTube, let me just tell y'all, YouTube is an amazing place to go for everything. YouTube. Like it's a great place. Like so many people don't really use it. Like she said, YouTube all day, every day. Like literally, we try to watch YouTube than TV. So we don't even watch the TV. We will literally watch YouTube for the news, for sports, for any motive. I now my day with a YouTube video every morning. That's my motivation for the day. That's my affirmations for the day. Every morning, that's the first thing I do.
I don't even do. I like lo-fi hip hop. If anybody has problems studying or trying to focus or just get into a zone, play lo-fi. My mentor Terrell put me on that. it is so soothing. It's almost coffee shop music. You know, when you go in the coffee shop and they play like the instrumental type of sounds, lo-fi is great, like a neuroscience tactic. So if you're trying to hack your brain in a healthy way, your brain vibrates off certain frequencies or responds to certain frequencies. So I ain't going down that space, but we can't talk about it. It's just lo-fi hip hop is dope. When I journal, when I wake up in the morning, I create a vibe for my crib. I'm like, I got plants. I'm plant poppy. So you feel me? I literally keep the vibes going because it's like I create the world I want. Like God said that you can create heaven on earth. And when I tell you my apartment is my sanctuary, like literally, like vibes always good, fresh air early in the morning. If I wake up at 5, I'm opening up all windows, you know, fresh air coming in before it get hot because Texas is burning us to death. But you know, it's literally the simple things that become routine and it helps you hone a different sense of self. Like before anybody comes in contact with you, what are you doing for yourself? So I think you just gotta you gotta date yourself really. Like, what do you like? What do you appreciate? What do you want? Like, you can't do what everybody else wants and they do what everybody else do. You can't be like, oh, this is the cool thing to do, so I'm gonna do it. That ain't me, so I ain't doing it. You feel me? So you really just gotta be the best you, and that's how you serve you.
I like that. I like that. So we have some of the resources that you utilize
Mhm.
to kind of get you to those points. So YouTube is one of
Yeah.
the things you use
I,
for.
I look up how to be productive a lot. I am a systems person, as we talked about. Like I learned and now running a business, you got people who are CEO minded, people who are COO minded, and you got people who are kind of both. I'm more of a I'm more of a COO person. Tell me the who, what, when, where, why, how. Then I can get an understanding of how I can contribute value to that space. Because I don't do nothing without knowing what I'm doing. Like you
Yep.
can just tell me that the sky's raining and you pissing on my head or something. It's let me know what I'm doing, and I'm set up in them systems. YouTube taught me a lot just from me taking the time to dig into the resource, but don't get trapped in YouTube to where you got all these resources but don't know how to use them as tools. So I think coming up with a plan for how you want to approach a resource. So like, for example, for me to another black person, if they ever say they need a mental health resource today and I never see them again, dial 988. You feel me? Instead of 911, dial 988. It's a national suicide prevention line. You can get tapped in with resources. It's not because you want to hurt yourself. You can just call them and get resources. Just from that, you got one resource on you right there. Um, but there's resources for everything. For like I said, back to those pillars: your business, your health, your community, you know, income. What do those resources look like? You know, you gotta really figure out what's important to you, and don't be afraid to ask for help. And if anybody on this line got a question about anything, feel free to DM me. Because I know this is a lot of information about a lot of random topics. So I wouldn't advise anybody to just take notes off everything we said and then try to do everything. I would literally say start on Sunday for what you want your week to look like for that next week. You know, don't even start in the middle of the week of doing something because you need to get your mind ready for that transition that you're about to go through. So give yourself a few days to even figure out how you're feeling about this transition. You don't just jump in, you know?
Right. And you touched on something. So for those who like we're given some resources, we're given kind of some strategies that work for us, but everybody's different. These are just tools for you.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
you said, don't try to take everything that what we're saying and say, oh, I gotta if you don't take nothing, take one thing and implement that one thing, and then you can come back to do something else. Because there is such thing as getting like information overload. It
yeah.
happens. It is a real thing. I have been there. You take all this stuff in, and then you don't apply nothing. That's me. I am guilty, okay? Pay for classes, go attend conferences, go do all these things, buy everything. And I'm just like, oh, I need that, I need that, I need that. But then I don't do nothing with the stuff. So then I'm like, well, that was pointless. So when do you feel like, or if someone is going and seeking out, okay, I'm trying to do this, when do you feel like it's someone that needs to say, okay, I need to seek maybe professional help to help me deal with this?
From working in the inpatient setting, those people came in because they were in danger to themselves or somebody else. So for the most part, people that just said, I want to commit myself voluntarily, but a lot of times family were saying, hey, I caught my daughter doing this, or this person is suicidal, having suicidal ideations. If you feel that you are a danger to yourself or somebody around you, seek help immediately. That's almost a 911 call, but we ain't advising that. We advising 988 once again. So call for that resource, and support yourself, because once stress exceeds your ability to cope, there are so many other things that can happen from that. Stress can influence, ischemic heart disease and COPD, and it's not just a mental health concern around stress. Stress affects your entire body. It affects you down to your cells, your bone structure, your blood, everything that we are is affected by the world around us. So I always advise people, if you feel that you can't manage your life and you feel that it's going out the way, you don't have a person that can support you through that transition, next step will be dialing that line and just letting them know, I'm not suicidal or I am suicidal. This is the situation. They'll guide you through. They're professionals. Their job is to support you. It's not about judgment, because we're not there for that. I think what made my job much easier was the fact that I was a young black man in the space, and everything was out of love. Like, I seen a man who came from a car snatched him up and smashed his head into the ground, and I seen his face, and I'm looking at him with no judgment, only love, because if I were you, I would want somebody to do the same. So these professionals are there operating out of love. Like, that's the one thing I like about this field. A lot of people are serious about what they do, so don't hesitate in seeking rightful help.
Yeah, and that's the point. You got to go and find the right help that you need.
The right help.
Yes, so there are those resources available. What was the number again?
988. And you also got NAMI, spelled out NAMI, which is an acronym for National Alliance on Mental Illness. They're also a large resource, and they're nationwide. So I like NAMI. I've actually went to NAMI myself, to just see how I can support when I first moved to Dallas. And they do big things. They with it. They like, oh, do you want to go speak tomorrow? Like, that's what NAMI is.
Right now, oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
It's very, I see it in my professional field where, I had to, being in the ER, there's a fine line. Okay, there's a real fine line. Do you know when the people are genuinely needing help, and when people are abusing the system?
Yeah.
And of course, we do see a lot of people who abuse the system. They know what to say, how to say it, so that they know they're in the process of dealing with whatever it is that they say. But there are some individuals, and I found this a lot in one of my travel assignments, that it made me stop and think like, man. And I'm saying this because typically men are the last ones to come and ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
To come and ask for help when it comes to their mental health.
That's true. That's true.
And by the time they're asking for help, it's usually too late.
Yeah, men actually commit suicide more successfully.
Successfully, yes. Not as they don't attempt more, but they're more successful at it.
More successful. Mm-hmm.
And when I was seeing that these men are coming into this space, into my emergency room, and asking for help, there were some talk like, they were like, really? And there were, some people would be like, oh, and I would hear it. oh, well, they're weak. Why they just can't man up and blah, blah, blah. And it's that stigma. And I feel like that's why men always are the last ones to come and ask. But what are some signs or things that as a man that you're going to see, like, if you're saying having these type of outward expressions that you would be like, okay, somebody should step in.
Me personally, I think I've always tried to be optimistic because I've always been a supporter. I've always been a supporter, but the things I've noticed from, from the most hood dudes to, people that come from a little affluent backgrounds, everybody is acceptable to mental health issues and concerns. And when it comes to men, I think it's when they detach from their support system. That's probably like one of the biggest, the most common trend I notice between this wide spectrum of people, from black to white to whomever. They detach, and a key sign is knowing a person. So if you know them, then you know the things that are different about them. So if they start, if I go to the club every once a month with my people, but now you see me going every week, that's a big change in my behavior. So it might not be that problematic, but if it becomes excessive and it's becoming to a point where it's now affecting my life in a way, whether it's my financial life, my social life, if it's affecting it in a negative way, then it's like, okay, maybe he's trying to numb himself. Maybe he's trying to escape something. Maybe he's suppressing it. So it starts to lead up to habit. So it's about knowing that person's routine and then knowing when they broke it. Knowing when they broke their routine. And a lot of times it's that social detachment is when it's almost too, I ain't gonna say almost too late, but we get to a point where it's harder to reel us back in. And
Because,
yeah,
yes,
because
y'all,
men are taught to be leaders.
yep,
Men
and
are
so
taught
that's the
to care. Men are taught to do. So if you aren't handling your business, you aren't doing. You feel me? So that's a problem. That hits us here. That's an ego thing.
There you go. Yep.
You feel me? I sit in, we have barbershop talks all the time, me and my dogs, they good people. And that's an ego thing when you can't manage your life, but then you got a wife, a kid, a dog, or whomever. You feel me? Like, they're depending on you to use your vision, your insight, your tools, your resources, everything to get us from point A to point B. Whether that's to live where we are currently or in Alaska. You feel me? Like, whatever your plan is, more than likely the man is making the ultimate decision. So when that man can't do, can't strategize, can't plan, can't figure it out, and he's just winging it, it starts to affect his mental health.
Yep. And it's very important for us as women that we have to support our men as well, because they're not going to come and have those conversations about things like that.
I got a point to add to that.
Okay.
Erectile dysfunction is another sign. If
Really?
a man can't perform sometimes, it's more so mental than physical. Because
Okay, that I can see that. Yes. I
yeah,
was about to look up the science behind that. But yes, that is very true.
so
And
yeah,
what women will think that, oh, you can't. And I'm like, sometimes that's
yeah,
not always what it is.
yeah, and
You
women,
gotta
and
sometimes
once
take a step back. We are hard on men about that.
yeah,
No pun intended.
that's
But we
and I say that because you asked what was a sign, and
mm-hmm.
a woman notices that instead of attacking them, because that's I'm young, so that ain't hit me yet, and it's not even a young older thing though. It's not to be
Yes.
personal. It's not a
It's
young
not,
old
but
thing,
I get what you mean.
but it's because we associate it as old, young, or unattractive, attractive, or gay, straight. It's literally social standards, social things. Instead of looking at that person and saying, "How can I support you?" or "How can I help you?" or "What's
Mm-hmm.
different?" So a woman, I would advise in that space to turn that nurturing sense on and see how to assist. But it's hard to get a man to talk about something like that because he ain't gonna admit it. But the crazy thing is, I had this conversation with men all the time. That they tell me they can't perform, but they won't tell their female therapist if they got a therapist like the whole session with a wife. They're not gonna mention it at all, not in the session. But a
No,
person like me that's not even a therapist, they want to talk to
they're
about
gonna talk about it, right?
So
Because it's that commonality. I can vibe with you. I can kind of you understand where I'm coming from, and they don't sense that as a judgment. Like
yeah.
you're coming to them and judging them.
When I tell you, I had a client who comes from a culture where when men are kind of macho, kind of abusive, and he told me his woman basically wanted him to put hands on her to prove that he's tougher than he portrays himself to be. But his dad was real abusive to him and his mom and his siblings, kicking him with steel-toe boots, busting their nose and stuff. So he said he won't be like his dad. You feel me? So because he tried to break that cycle within their culture, now he comes home to an abusive wife who, you know, treating him, and he feels like he can't get out of that situation. And it's like he's one of many men I've talked to. A lot of men just want to allow a woman to run their space, and they might just run them crazy. You feel me? On the other end, and just bounce back or fight back. And it's like, at the end of the day, we're supposed to be working together. We're supposed to be building our community and not breaking it down. So that's a sensitive topic, but I felt like I should have just said it. But the erectile dysfunction is heavy because if you can't perform, you start to really internalize things about yourself, and it starts to hit your own core, your own inner peace or inner self, and because a lot of men identify themselves with that member. So yeah.
And that's how the anxiety and that's how the stress will show up for them, and they don't even realize it. And as a woman, you don't realize it. You only just see what he ain't performing, so it must be something. We don't think about the stress.
Yeah.
We think of it must be somebody else involved. It may be something else. And it's not that. And a lot of times when men and mental health come about, it shows up in other ways. Like you said, they may not be on their regular routine. They may start to lash out. They may start to retreat. And it's just, I've had to learn to say, how can I support you in this moment? Because sometimes, right. And I have to be okay with if he's just like, I'm good. I just need time to myself and just
No. Does the woman want to? Like, it's like, is it worth it for her? Like, you know, is it worth really trying to nurture him? Because at the end of the day, you pouring from your heart too. So you got to realize who you're dealing with. So it's not just all about the woman and her responsibility. It's like, are y'all a match?
right.
Do y'all have the same values? Do y'all compromise together? Do y'all try to understand each other? It's a two-way street. It's not about a this or that. He, she,
Right.
he, she, whoever. It's about two people matching values. Because if you want kids and I don't, we already got to disconnect.
Right.
If you want sex 5 times a day and I don't, we got to disconnect. And that's not, and those are values, but those are differences.
They have differences from between people, yeah. So you
me?
got to be able to match, and that's a whole nother conversation. Because if you ain't matched with that, you do. But
you got to want to
for
help
the individual who you feel like is your match, you have to find ways to be able to connect with them on an intellectual level and understand when something's not right, understand where they're stressed, understand and how to support them. We can't get pissed off at them if they just be like they want to be on their own.
Yeah.
You have to respect that space. You have to, just like what your non-negotiables are and what your boundaries are, they got boundaries and they got non-negotiables too. It looks different than ours.
Yeah.
And it's okay. You just have to say, and I just know, me personally, that's something I've had to start doing. Understanding, okay, you've had a stressful situation. And I've had, like, my mom's had to remind me on stuff like, well, you got to remember, this just happened.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? You're right. Let me take a step back. And let me just be like, okay, let me chill. And then we can have this conversation. Because I go there to the country. We ain't going to do that.
And then what is outlets? Like, does he have outlets? Like, does he
Those are important because if they don't, it's not bad. They gotta have a space, and they don't always have. Just
Yeah.
you don't.
Yeah.
So those are just. I wanted us to cover that conversation.
Yeah.
I felt like it was important to kind of go there. We was touching it, but we weren't quite yet. So I wanted to make sure that we kind of circled around and get that.
Yeah, I don't really like
Because
to talk much because it can get personal, but it is real though, and I do want to have these one-on-ones with men more so about just being able to state the obvious and figuring out ways that I can support you with a plan. You feel me? Like a mental health plan. Like you ain't gotta teach a girl with the play-by-play or whatever, your guy, whoever you with. It's more so about what works for you, what's important to you, what are your non-negotiables, because we need them too. And we all make decisions, and we allow people to make decisions in our space, but we're not making them for ourselves. So when it comes to mental health.
yes. So yeah, I have to be respectful of everybody's time. So
Yeah.
is there anything else that you want to? I feel like we kind of hit our topics we were supposed to hit.
Yeah.
I have some good talking points. It has some good questions in there. Everyone gave some good feedback. I love it. Talking about how to deal with stressors. What are some resources you can use? The mind, body, soul idea. I'm taking that and I'm going to implement that. Okay.
Let's go.
So it's happening. I know a few people who are probably about to implement that on this live too. So
and we could do it together. We could do it together. I'm already on it, and like I said, anybody on this line can definitely hit me up. I mean, that's what people do anyway. So go ahead and tap in with me.
Okay, don't tell me because you got to look. So we have a good question. Claudia said, what can we do as women to support our men on the current or to start a mental health journey?
Being gentle, honestly. That's a tricky topic because the history behind mental health is centered around mind control, and it has a lot of negative connotations that is still being. And I believe just knowing how to approach it, knowing him, and knowing how to approach him with certain things, because I think mental health is kind of sensitive topic to some men, unless he's really open to those type of conversations. Then I would suggest just doing so. Maybe tapping in with somebody that has the background, asking for a suggestion. But it starts with, if you were to ask me, for example, of how to help, I would ask you questions about who is the person, what's his habits, what's his personality, things of the sort, to kind of gauge a way to package that conversation, because you can't just approach anybody with a sensitive topic.
And I've learned in my experience, they have to be ready for that.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're not in a space to be able to accept that kind of help and deal with the issues, they're not going to do it.
Not gonna do it.
Us as women, we're saying, we want what's best for you. We want to be open. We want to be that space. But at the same time, if they're not ready, and if they haven't had that mindset shift, they're not going to be open to it whatsoever.
Yeah, you gotta shift your mindset, and it takes time. Honestly, I would advise a man, honestly, instead of the woman maybe trying to, maybe she can guide him, but as far as pointing him in the right direction, I think she's probably trying to tap a man with a rightful resource. Like, if that's literally the reason why I'm going to coaching. And I'm not saying bring your guy my way to have me coach him. I can and I will, but
it's a good place to start.
It's a place to start, because coaching is about the mindset shift. Therapy is more so about the work. But with coaching, it's about life skills. What impacts you? Is it financial? Cool. Let's figure out a way to manage your finances. Is it your health? It's different ways of managing the situation. But if mental health is so taboo to talk about, then I would advise investing in a coach, somebody that you are paying to support you, not a friend that may answer, may not answer, may not be supportive, may not have the tools, the resources to help you out. Pay for somebody that already do the work, because that's what the rich people do. That's what the folks do that really got it going on. They don't think about stuff that don't matter. They just pay for the resource. So do just that.
That's great. That baby, yes. Because usually
Talking about.
what you pay your money to, you're gonna commit to. Usually. And that's not always the case, but that's usually the case. You're gonna shell your money out to pay for it, you're gonna use it.
How Nana checking me on this live though? Talking about what I didn't talk about. Now we gotta go.
So yes, we wanted it to, have this candid conversation about topics that come up so often.
Yeah.
I've had this conversation, I don't know how many times, about the same thing, and it's important to be able to, when I met Davon, it was at a mental health event, and the event was bomb. And so it really, made me be like, I need to make sure one of my pillars that I operate under is mental health, because even though I focus on preventative health care, none of that is possible if your mental is not right. And so for me, it was huge to make sure that I incorporate mental health in my business, because you can't have great physical activity, you can't have great anything, like you can't have a great body if your mental's not right. That's literally where it starts. So it's huge for me to always be able to have these conversations, have the difficult conversations, because if we're not doing, as health professionals, people are going to look to us first to have these conversations anyway. Figuring out we are a resource for people as it is because of our background. So it's important to always be open to allow others to be like, feel that they can come to you and have those conversations. Because sometimes it's hard to just initiate the conversation.
Yeah.
They'll shy around it and they'll talk about it around it, but they don't want to really address the thing. And so I appreciate you, giving me the opportunity to bring you on the line and have the conversation. At first I was like, I don't even know if you're going to really be like, let's do it.
Hey, I got that with y'all ASAP. When we was at the event, we got, it was you and another person that also has a business going on, Jasmine. We took in, and literally like a week or so after, we was already in the books about what we finna talk about, what we finna do. Like y'all was just as serious as I am, and I appreciate that, because people might not come to you about mental health, topics and conversations, but it happens to me all day, every day. Like I might get a call thinking it's from a friend. We about to talk about boxing or something, and it's like, hey, we mental health. All right, cool. Now I got to put a different hat on.
Shit, a little bit, yeah. And that's my only blowing about. I've had this. I was wondering if you could. It's all day. Like that's just the conversation. As a nurse, they're gonna call me about literally any and everything. And so I get it, but I do, because I work ER. That mental health piece is live and well, baby. It's more live than I thought that it would ever be in the ER, but it is there. And so I'm like, I have it there. I have the knowledge, but let me tap into those individuals who that is their lane, because I'm huge on it. If I don't know the answer, I'm gonna find you somebody that can. I might not be the right resource, but let me find somebody who can be. So
we appreciate you.
Yes, I definitely, y'all welcome for the call. I definitely want let them know how they can connect with you, let them know how they can reach you, how they can stay in tune with you.
Yeah. So as of now, you can tap in with me on Instagram, where we at right now, Facebook. I'm a resource at the end of the day. I'm a mental health advocate. I have the education, I have the experience, as well as I'm also an emotional intelligence life coach now. So I got the certification to support your needs. You feel me? We go on life skills, we go on education, and we tapping you in with resources. If I'm not your guy, we're gonna tap you in with somebody that can support you, because we gotta build our community back up, and it does start with the mind. So I'm here. follow up with me, tap in. We on a journey together, so let's just do the work.
I love it. So I appreciate everyone's great insight. The questions were bomb. The interaction was bomb. Yes, I am going to say this live so that, you can be sure. So we can be sure to, people can go back and watch this again so we can make sure we get this on your page as well. Like, the conversation was amazing. So y'all got to let us know if this is something that y'all like to see, this is something you want to see again, there's conversations that y'all want us to have, topics, like, y'all got to let us know. Because we're able to bring things to you based on what people tell us.
Exactly. That's literally it. So I agree and want to just say, if I could, if you want me and her to do something in particular, be specific, and we'll definitely do it, because we tapped in and we about the work. So that's all it's about. So I'm definitely open. She's open. So hit her with something specific. Hit me with something specific. I can do it in my own space in conjunction. We can round folks up and do it again like we did out here in the city. So we really about that action. So it's just about,
y'all know, y'all say it. Y'all say the word, and I'm gonna do it. My mom always tells me you always do it so much, but it's a passion that I have to be able to serve people and definitely be able to, be that outlet for people and have this conversation. So y'all let us know, give us some topics, throw out some things out there. Me and Devon will sit down, we will go to work. Like I said, he's a master organizer. I strive to be at the level of organization that he is, and I'm gonna get there.
Yeah. Hey, I'm your resource too, so we can sit down and, you feel me? We in there.
So I appreciate you for giving me the opportunity to say, yes, let's sit down, let's have this conversation with somebody I don't even know. But that, you were open to it. He was very open to it. He was very responsive. Like, let's meet. He was like, okay, we're going to map out. This is what we need to talk about. You got topics in mind? How you want this to go? And I need people like that, because I would just be like, well, but it'll make me be like, I got this. But it makes me be like, okay, do this. We're going to talk about this. Let's do this. Let's set up a meeting. I would set up a meeting all day, every day. You tell me, and I will schedule it. So I appreciate you. I appreciate y'all's engagement. It really means a lot to both of us to be able to feed off of y'all, because that's what keeps us, being able to keep doing it.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for your service. And we definitely gonna do some more work.
We are. So thank you, guys. I'm glad that y'all enjoyed the session. And until next time. Oh, I forgot to even show y'all. Self-care is not selfish.
Yeah.
So be sure to tap in with your self-care and make sure that you got to put yourself first.
Y'all have a blessed one, man. Y'all stay blessed. Thank y'all for tapping in too.
Y'all have a good one. Good night.
All right.